Okay, so this is our practice for today. It's called the quilting project. So first we're going to read it. To make a quilt, a quilter is buying fabric in 2 colors, light and dark. He needs at least 9.5 yards of fabric in total. The light color costs $9 a yard and the dark color costs $13 a yard. The quilter can spend up to $110 on fabric. So for part 1, it wants us to write an inequality to represent the length constraint. And constraint just means like limit, like the amount of length he wants to purchase. We're going to use X to represent the yards of light fabric and Y to represent the yards of dark fabric. So now we're going to read this again, keeping in mind that we want to write an inequality about the length constraint. So we have 2 paragraphs here. In the first one, it talked about the length. So we're only going to focus on the first one. We're going to ignore everything that's written in the second paragraph. Just focus on the first one. So to make a quilt, a quilter is buying fabric in 2 colors, light and dark, and he needs at least 9.5 yards of fabric in total. So we see the word in total, and normally we would write an equal sign and our total would be 9.5. But since we're doing inequalities, we need to look for different keywords. And on our sheet, our alligator sheet, at least was written there. So at least means that he can purchase 9.5 yards, and that would be at least 9.5. And he could also purchase 12 yards, that would be at least 9.5. But he could not purchase 8 yards because 8 is not at least 9.5. So that means our symbol has to be greater than or equal to. And what is he buying? He's buying light and dark fabric. So he's buying X plus Y. And we know our symbol, greater than or equal to 9.5. For this one, it does matter if you flip the order, the inequality symbol would need to change. So it's important that you write it in order, exactly how you see the information. And then part 2, this is actually going to be on your quiz. So this is going to be level 1 of your quiz. So make sure you know how to do this part. It says select all the pairs that satisfy the length constraint. Show your work here. So you have 2 options. You could either use your graph. Part A is the graph for this one. Or you could use substitution. So the X comes first, right? X, Y. So we would plug this in here. So it would be 5 plus 5 is greater than or equal to 9.5. And 5 plus 5 gives us 10. And then you just see if this statement is true or not. So 10 is greater than 9.5. So that means that yes, it does satisfy the length constraint. We'll do one more and then I'll have you guys do the other together. So 2.5 plus 4.5 is greater than or equal to 9.5. So that's going to give us 7. Is 7 greater than or equal to 9.5? No, right? It's smaller. So you put no. And I'm going to have you guys try these 2. This is going to be level 1 of your quiz. So make sure you're able to do it. And for the next part, it asks to write an inequality to represent the cost constraint. So we wrote one for the length, paragraph 1. Now we're going to write one for the cost, paragraph 2. So we're going to reread paragraph 2 and underline key things. So it says the light color costs $9 a yard and the dark color costs $13 a yard, and the quilter can spend up to $110. So right now we know that this is 9x and 13y, but we still need our inequality symbol, so we have to look for other keywords. If this is going to be our total on one side of the equal sign by itself, then inequality symbol, then we need to see what is said before that and underline that. And it says earn up to. So he could earn up to. Can he earn $110? And is that earning up to? Yes, it is, right? Can he earn $130? And is that earning up to 110? No, right? That's bigger than 110. But can he earn $100? And that is still up to 110. Yes. So up to is really meaning like his maximum. So the maximum, that says maximum, amount of money he can earn is $110. So we're going to use the less than or equal to symbol for this constraint. So we just write what we know, $9 for the light color and $13 for the dark color. And he can earn up to no more than $110. Okay, so that's our cost constraint. Oh, so I have it on the slip of paper. And now number 4, it's asking you to do the same thing that you did in number 2, but this time using your cost constraint. So instead of substituting into the same equation, we're going to substitute into the one we just made. So 9x plus 13y is less than or equal to 110. So we know we have x and y. So we just substitute 9 parentheses 1 plus 13 parentheses 1 is less than or equal to 110. So what is 9 plus 13? Is it less than or equal to 110? Yes, it is, right? 22 is less than or equal to 110. So that means our cost constraint is satisfied. Yes. And then I'm going to have you guys do the other 3. Same way, you just substitute. Or you could use your graph. So the next point is 4, 5. If I go to my graph, I'm using graph B for the cost. And graph A was for the length. So I would go to the point 4, 5. So 4 on the x and 5 on the y. You have to estimate because it goes by 4s. So it would be like about right here. And does that fall in the shaded region of being less than or equal to? Yes, right? So right here is less than. If it's above, it's greater than. And if it lands exactly on the line, it's equal to. So here we were looking at less than or equal to, but here we were looking at greater than or equal to. So for it to be a solution in the first part, it had to be either in the greater than region or equal. For it to be a solution for the length one in part 2. And then for part 5, it wants you to explain why the 0.22 satisfies the cost, but not the length. So the cost constraint is this inequality, 9x plus 13y less than or equal to 110. And the length constraint was x plus y is greater than or equal to 9.5. And remember we have x, y. So for this part, can you show your work and explain in words why it satisfies this but not this? So use substitution and then explain in words. So you would say it satisfies the cost constraint because ... but not the length constraint. And then tell me why, okay? And then for part 6, it wants you to graph both of the inequalities on Desmos. So you're gonna go to desmos.com. graphing calculator. And then all you have to do is type in both of these inequalities. If you need to, you could click on the keyboard symbol on Desmos in order to type in your inequality symbols. So you're going to type this and this on Desmos. And then you need to tell me at least one pair of numbers that satisfies both constraints. So one is going to be shaded blue and one's going to be shaded red. You need to find where they're both shaded, and that would be where they are both satisfied. And tell me any coordinate you see there, x, y, and explain how do you know. And then for the last part, just explain what does the pair of numbers represent in the solution. So what does x mean, like whatever you pick, and then what does the y value mean? So look back at what x represented. So it was the yards of light fabric. So you would write x, let's say you pick 10. 10 means that they bought 10 yards of light fabric, and so on. So that's what you explain here. And then submit it onto Schoology when you are done.